A sad week in law enforcement. Officer Jamal Mitchell lost his life in the line of duty while trying to bring peace to an active attack incident in the beautiful city of Minneapolis. I want to talk about my thoughts on police training. If you're chiming in from the private security industry, this video is relevant for you as well, because it's going to basically undermine your training that you probably have. So let's talk about what happened. And I don't know. I am not there. I was not there. I'm in California. Hey, by the way, guys, I got nothing to show you on camera. I'm on a country road or urban area. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. I'm on a country or county road and the streets are all bumpy. So don't pay attention to the video, just concentrate on the audio. So going back to Officer Jamal Mitchell, I don't know exactly what happened. I mean, I'm over here in California. He's in Minneapolis. I don't have any body camera footage, not much of a press release, but I do know that he responded to some type of active attack incident. And while he was rendering aid to one of two victims, he was ambushed. He lost his life in the line of duty. So I want to talk about tactics. I want to talk about police training, like what kind of training do they get? And I want to talk about how the current public sentiment works against the training that from the private security sector. A lot of the topics that we're going to discuss in the next 10 minutes definitely relate to you. Okay, so let's begin. First off, Officer Mitchell worked in Minneapolis. That is home to Derek Chauvin. That's home to a large amount of people in the community that don't want you to exist. They're upset about what happened, understandably, what happened with the Derek Chauvin incident, and they try to disband the police department. If you are trying to disband the police department, you are probably providing zero funding for tactical level training that you need to survive. What type of training do you need to survive incidents? Well, what type of training do law enforcement have to go through right now? It's scary. Now, I'm a California cop. My instructors for the longest time keep saying California's the best city. California's the best state. We have the best trained cops. Look, first off, what do you compare that to? I mean, have these instructors worked in other places? So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I will tell you that even California cops who have to go through 6 months of training, they don't go through any active shooter course. They might go through like 4 hours of how to search a building, but that's about it. And the instructors don't even have to be qualified. All they have to do is be a cop for like 5 years, 4 years, usually, maybe even 2 years, and that's it. And all of a sudden they can start teaching building search training, or maybe they're a fireman instructor and all of a sudden they can teach building search training. Building search training is a small component of active attack training. And I'm being careful with my words because I don't want to be censored all the way to the bottom of the YouTube algorithm. Sorry about that. The type of training that they need is they need CQB training that teaches them how to conduct dynamic entry and deliberate entry. I trained at Texas State University for 40 hours. I took one of the hardest courses that I ever took. I thought I was going to fail the course. It was called the Alert Level 1 Instructor. The course is taught by a Green Beret and a former San Antonio, I think he was SWAT. Both have real life experience, and that course was intense, I'll tell you that. That's the kind of training that you need. Now, the course that's offered, the Hallmark course from Texas State, It's a 2-day course. That's it. It's a 2-day course. Day one is kind of sort of like classroom. There are some like dry fire exercises. You learn how to clear buildings and structures during an active attack incident with a gun that doesn't even go off. Like, it's not a Sims pistol, it's not airsoft. There's not a lot of stress. And then day two, that's when the stress is on. So that's the hallmark course for the majority of law enforcement that go to Texas State to train for active attack incidents. The training that I got was the 40-hour course, and I train you to go through the 2-day course. So mine is 5 days, yours is. Now, when I say your, I'm referring to most of the audience. There's so much there to learn. Now, what we did learn is that things have changed. When you see a victim on the floor, as long as the shots are not being fired and as long as it's generally safe, you can start rendering aid to that victim. Now, the key word is as long as it's reasonably safe. Even if the active attacker is somewhere in the premises, you still render aid, because part of addressing a mass casualty incident is stopping the bleeding. If you could stop the bleeding, then you could stop the killing, because that one hit that was oriented at the victim's leg, okay, maybe they got a femoral bleed, right? Maybe you got 2 minutes. If you don't address the situation, the active attacker wins again. They got another stat. So I think Jamal did the right thing, right? He did the most unselfish thing that another human being can do to another human being. He put his life at risk for the general safety of someone else. I am religious, and there's a biblical saying that says something to the effect of something about lay your life down for some man or something like that. I'm sorry, guys, I haven't been to church in like 20 years, but there's a saying. I forgot what it was, but it was in the scriptures. And anyhow, what my concern is for a city like Minneapolis is they probably defunded all of their tactical level of training. They're not getting that 2-day course. By the way, Texas State goes all over the place. They go to so many different states to train people how to deal with mass casualty incident, specifically law enforcement. But my guess is that they oriented all that training towards de-escalation training. And I have no problem at all with de-escalation training. And I hate to use those words because those are politically made up words. During my early days, we called it verbal judo. It's the same thing. But that's what the Minneapolis Police Department is probably taking. A bunch of de-escalation training, which is fine. I support that level of training everywhere. In California, we can't get enough of it. We actually get a lot. Now, in addition to that, tactical level training has to be funded, guys. You can't defund that. And you can't just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to defund this tactical level training so police won't have to use their firearms, because that's not going to happen, especially a city like Minneapolis. California, we have what's called MAC-TAC training, MAC-TAC. And it's basically the same. It's kind of like the same level of training as what Texas State offers. And I keep mentioning Texas State because Texas State, the ALERT, ALERTT school that is under their umbrella, they have received recognition by the FBI as being the standard for active attack incidents, active attack incident education, prevention. The FBI actually did not categorize the active shooter instructor course that FLETC offers. It's a 40-hour course. They did not give any recognition to that course. All of the recognition goes to Texas State. And there's like a $70 million grant. It went all the way to Texas State. And I was a recipient of those funds. I took my course for free. I know that there's other subscribers that took that course for free. Unfortunately, it is reserved for military and law enforcement. If you have somebody in private security that says that they took that course, they probably didn't even take that course. It's probably something else. And you can take the equivalent of that course somewhere else on the private sector. I think there's a company called Brodus Defense, and I think that they work with Texas State. Moving forward, guys, it is still the procedure that if you see a downed person, that your responsibility is to render aid. Many times it's a tourniquet. Sometimes it's a hemostatic gauze. Okay? If you want to be more helpful in law enforcement or security, guys, take a LEC, LEO course, or any type of any TECC course. That's Tactical Emergency Casualty Care. I took the course from Randy Nunes from Global Veterans. It's one of the best medical related courses I've taken, and I feel really confident that if one of you got hit and I'm around, that I would be able to save your life as long as you're hit in an area where I can help. Obviously, if you're hit between the eyes, a tourniquet on your neck is not going to help, or your throat's not going to help. It has to be, it basically has to be limbs, right? I also will say this, that if you are currently in law enforcement security, your employer is probably not going to train you for the fight that you might endure one day. I did all this training on my own dollar. The only thing that I asked my employer was to do was provide compensatory time. So every hour of overtime that I was spent during this course, I was granted an hour and a half credit. So that's it. That's the only thing that I requested for my employer. My employer said, Sean, screw you. I'm not going to give you that. Then I'd be totally fine with it, and I would continue to seek out that level of training on my own. These medical courses, the tactical combat casualty courses, make sure you guys seek them out. Okay, your first aid course, CPR, BLS, it's probably not going to train you enough to save a life during a mass casualty incident. I mean, you might get there. I was taught how to use a self-improvised tourniquet, but we didn't do any hands-on instruction. When I took the course with Randy, like the random time he would say left arm tourniquet, and then you would apply it. Right arm tourniquet, and then you would apply it. So there's like some hands-on techniques involved. I will also say that the modern day law enforcement officer still has to be concerned about public scrutiny. But guys, gone are the days when we need to be too scared to the point where we can't move. Gone are the days that we stop hiring these Instagram cops, these TikTok cops. I'm telling you, sometimes I'm near individuals who want to look good for the camera, and that's everywhere. They want to appear the best in camera. I've been through some pretty intensive SWAT training. Everybody wants to be SWAT until it's the day to do SWAT stuff. Until it's a day to train to do SWAT stuff. Nobody wants to do the PT, but everybody wants to dress up like they're soldier of fortunes walking around, like wannabe military guys. But they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to do the cardio. They just want to put on the uniform. Not too long ago, I've seen a couple of members of a SWAT team walking around with their guts hanging out. What are you going to do when you get hit and your partners need to pick you up? It's called a liability. I don't care how you look. All I'm saying is I'm going to have difficulty picking you up with all of those extra 40 pounds that you're lugging around. And so is somebody else. So don't just do it for yourself, do it for others. With cops, let me look good in my uniform. Let me make sure that I'm clean cut, my badge is shiny, I look good in front of camera, but when the time comes down to it, to actually be a cop, I'm going to hesitate so long that I'm going to piss in my pants. I'll tell you this. I read a book called On Killing by Lieutenant Grossman. In that book, he's interviewed soldiers in combat, our servicemen, men and women in combat. In World War II, it's very common to poop in your pants, to piss in your pants during a combat situation. I don't know if it's common in law enforcement. I would think that it's probably the same. I don't know, guys. I haven't been overseas in combat. I don't know if this is the thing, but according to retired Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, it's a thing. Okay, that's a thing. So let's train for the fight. Let's train for the last days. If you want to be a cop, you want to be an armed security officer and go out there and call yourself an operator, like Officer Henson from Reddit does. You know, he puts the SWAT. He wants to get like a SWAT badge or a SWAT pin or a patch without putting in the work. So let's get trained out there, guys, and let's stop absorbing the rhetoric that police need to concentrate more on de-escalation. That is right now. But look, I want to say this: if you're an upcoming police officer, you should concentrate most of your time on de-escalation. I support it 100%. But on the other note, you should be concentrating on those possible final days that you have to fight for your life. And that involves active shooter training. In California, we have the 1-day MACTAC course, but Texas has 2 days. I've trained with Randy from Global Veterans so many times, and he doesn't even let you go hands-on clearing rooms until you finish his classroom portion. And I guess the boring stuff. His classes should be 2 days long, just like Texas State University's classes are. They're 2 days long for the operator, not the instructor. All right, guys, let me go through the comments here. Mike is here. Welcome, Mike. He's helping me moderate. American Top Gunner says, terrible, man. Again, I pray, Heavenly Father, that you be with the family of this officer, this fallen officer, and his department, his friends, and you give them the strength to move on. Amen to that. Jay says, happy Friday to you. Top Gunner says, police need extensive military type training. Not extensive. They don't need to learn how to throw a grenade or a RPG. I'm just saying they need to learn how to survive an active attack incident and go through all the proper protocols. At least every law enforcement agency, even security agency, if you're a security officer and you work in a high commerce area, like a mall or something like that, you should go through a minimum of 2 hours of active attack training. Minimum 2 hours. And that active attack training needs to include medical, emergency medical. I'm not talking about rappelling off of helicopters. I'm not talking about doing the military crawl on the floor. Look, just 2 days. That's all I ask for law enforcement, private security. 2 days. 1 day where it's classroom, medical. You're going through clearing the buildings, areas, with teams of 1 to 4. And then 2 is scenario day where the dribbling goes up and you don't want to get hit with an airsoft or sims. Full day training. J Ace is LOL. Mario Castillo says, oh, thank you, man. Thank you for the biblical stricture. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. Absolutely. And that's what Jamal did. He laid his life down for his friends. And did you guys know that the day, I think it was like the a structure that was on fire. Jeez, he's doing all this for a community. I want to say a good fraction of a community that hates their police department. Just imagine that he laid his life down for a complete stranger. American Top Gunner says he's most likely with the Lord for laying down his life. Absolutely. Now, keep in mind, you may lay down your life, and I feel like I'm preaching out here, even though I haven't been in church for like 20 years. But look, you may like lay your life down for another human being, but keep in mind to live the good life too, the honest life, the righteous life, and then you will see the Lord. Okay. Mario says John 15:13. Fuzzy Slipper says, what criminal justice job provides good work-life balance? Oh, man. I would say none. You want, be honest with you, a criminal justice professor, you need a PhD. That's equal work balance. Maybe a social worker. And that's kind of like a middle ground. I mean, it's not really criminal justice. It kind of is. Otherwise, I can't think of anything else. Sorry. Book Up says, I am armed secure. Bookham says, I am the armed security officer from Walgreens in Seattle. I would like to talk to you one-on-one. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, Brian. Send me an email to ssundahl@yahoo.com. It's ssundahl@yahoo.com. Hey, you reach out to me, we'll talk. Fuzzy Slipper says, I would even take a pay cut. I like the criminal justice field, but I like work-life balance. I hear you. I hear you. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you for the support, and thank you for listening.